You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast on BQN. We're here to showcase the films you probably missed, but should definitely check out. From independent and obscure to art house and absurd, each episode will gather, perhaps cocktail in hand, to discuss it all. I'm your host, Laz Marquez, and with me today are Mark White, Matthew Jennings, and guest host, Shalimar Lewis. Hey everyone, how's it going?
Yay, full house. I love it when we have a full house.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm happy to have you.
What is everybody drinking?
I am, oh God, what does the can say? Hold on. Okay. This is a Absolute Mango Mule.
Ooh, how is that?
It's interesting. It's more mule and Absolute and not as much mango, but
Oh,
it gets the job done.
gingery.
It's
Yeah.
very gingery.
Shalimar?
I'm having a bourbon and Coke, and it's pretty good. Ooh, I'm sorry, I knocked the mic, but the bourbon is very smoky, which
Ooh.
I don't know if I like that. Somebody gave it to me,
Yeah.
so it sort of tastes like the air smelled a few weeks ago.
Oh,
Just call the drink Canada Haze.
Oh my God, trademark.
And everybody knows I like to do themes for the different episodes. And so I was thinking about Max Shrek when I was like, I'm going to do a martini. But I didn't want just a regular martini because, I don't know, I wanted some flavor. So I made a lemon drop martini. Sue me.
Ooh, it looks good.
Thanks. It kind of looks
So
like piss, but but it doesn't taste that way.
Donald Trump would enjoy it.
Oh my God. He'd throw it all over his sheets.
Oh, man.
Well,
Welcome, Shalimar.
should we move on to what people are saying about us? What do you think, Mark?
Absolutely. This was nice to see. We have a couple of reviews online. I pulled one of them. This is from the Apple Podcasts. And this user, Fish36, says, Mark, Matt, and Laz are funny and have good chemistry and don't just regurgitate the same opinions. It's cool to hear about the background of films, and you can tell they have fun acting out the scenes they pick. Keep up the great work. And that's definitely no relation to me. He's not my cousin, I promise.
Thank you. Not Mark's cousin.
Thank you very much. We also have a comment from Mel Larson on Twitter. Okay, it took me forever to watch Before Night Falls. I don't know why. Life? ? But I watched it over the weekend and I'll listen today. Thanks. Let us know how you think about the film and the recording. Thanks.
Absolutely. And shout out to Mel. She's been dealing with a lot in her personal life lately, and she's a trooper and she brings a lot of smiles to people. So thanks, Mel. You definitely bring us smiles. We appreciate the comments as usual. And I know you're going to pull through and do great.
Yes, thank you. So there was a cool little serendipitous moment that I noticed today. I was going through Instagram, and as you know, the writers are on strike. The WGA rather is on strike. SAG-AFTRA is on strike, and I saw three actors from Tigerland that reunited to join the picket line. Colin Farrell, Shea Wiggum, and Tori Kittles. Yes, so they reunited to be on the picket lines during the strike, and I don't know, that was just a nice little serendipitous moment to see. Again, all of our love to the WGA and SAG-AFTRA as this strike continues.
I think this could be a really good segue into the film we're going to be covering.
Yes.
So this week, I'm incredibly excited. We not only reached out to many people on social media, we did like a poll. We asked, we discussed it ad nauseum together. Like, is this the right pick for this podcast? We all agreed it was. So, released in 1992 and directed by Tim Burton, Batman Returns unveils the stories of the monstrous penguin, played by Danny Devito, who lives in the sewers beneath Gotham. When he joins up with wicked, shock-headed business man Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken, to topple the Batman, played by Michael Keaton, once and for all. But when Shrek's timid assistant, Selina Kyle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, finds out and Shrek tries to kill her, she is transformed into the sexy Catwoman. She teams up with the Penguin and Shrek to destroy Batman, but sparks fly unexpectedly when she confronts the Cape Crusader. When you first saw this film, what was your impression afterwards?
I mean, I saw it when it originally came out, so I would have been 10. And I remember I liked the first one and I wanted to see the second one. And I don't remember if I saw it in the theater or we rented it, but we were poor, so we probably rented it. But I remember a couple of things. I remember being scared because there were some scary elements to it. I think even more so than in the first movie. There were some adult things in this. Also, I remember distinctly how the Catwoman made me feel. And mind you, I think it's been known if you've listened to this podcast at all that I like men. But there's something about Michelle Pfeiffer's performance in this movie that makes me question that I like men. And did so when I was a 10-year-old boy. And also, I appreciated the fact that her character, Selina Kyle, was a character that, like myself, was bullied, pushed around, made to feel less than. And then she ends up regaining her power and choosing how she's going to use that power in her life. And that in itself made a big impression on me and made me want to continue over the years to go back to this film.
Yeah, I would have to say there's something about Catwoman in this movie that I think she resonates with the queer community a lot. And I think that there's something about, what Mark was saying about her being bullied, being picked on, and her taking control. And Catwoman kind of she has this Selina Kyle, I guess there's Selina Kyle and there's Catwoman, and there's this duality and there's this battle that's going on. And I think that, we see the transformation of Selina Kyle into Catwoman, and Catwoman is, kind of the way that I guess Selina's taking ownership of who she truly is and probably always has been internally, but was just numbed by this man-controlled, man-centric world. I think that there are some subtleties as well in regards to how you deflect bullying, and there's the physical element of Catwoman being able to fight and totally kick ass, but there's this other element of her wit. And some of us in the queer community would probably call it shade. And there's a master class in throwing shade that Selina Kyle, or that Catwoman, is kind of teaching in this movie that is, I guess you could say in some ways, part of queer culture, part of drag culture. There's that thing where you see in RuPaul's Drag Race, the library is open. There's something about being bullied and using your wit to fight that, which I don't know. That's something that that I identified with, that I noticed and appreciated. When I first saw this movie, I think I was 10 years old. I think it was 1999, so maybe I was 11. The stuff that stuck out to me, the stuff that stuck out to me there were some scary images. The thing that I really think about the most is the moment where Penguin is being introduced to his campaign team, and he makes a joke with one of the guys about having a broken nose, or like his blood gushing from his nose, and the Penguin just bites him on the nose and blood starts gushing out. And I remember just even now, even in the rewatch of that movie, I cover my eyes when that scene comes up. But that's the one thing that sticks out to me the most. It's probably that moment.
I think jumping off of that, I'll start with kind of like the initial rationale of like what my first impression was. So like for me, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. We couldn't go to the movie theaters. That was like a big thing. For this movie, I was like goo goo gaga. I had to go. My parents like had to figure something out, get sitters for my sisters, and we went. And I don't know if it was because of the time period, which was, 1992, like it was a local New Jersey theater, but it felt like such a spectacle that it made me like fall in love with film and what it means to go to film with like family and whatnot. Like it was such like an eye-opening experience about what it feels like to be a kid experiencing something for the first time. So that stuck with me. It's like carried me in a lot of different avenues in my creative life, that kind of feeling and chasing it. But something I also wanted to comment on that Matt, you mentioned, it's interesting, like, because we do get a lot of conversation about Catwoman as a queer icon.
Yeah.
And a lot less talk necessarily about her being like a female icon as a whole.
Right.
Because you're right. She has like, she can spill the tea. She can like, she can be like all of these things that I think as gay men, we want to embody as well sometimes.
Yeah.
But I always looked at her as like a woman, not that she was bullied, but like the world had this idea of her. She kept with that. You could see she was sassy even before like she turned into Catwoman.
Yeah.
So like seeing that progression of her owning both sides of herself, I think is much more fascinating than I think a lot of the conversations we often get with that character.
Yeah, definitely from a little girl's perspective, I think my reaction to seeing Catwoman on screen was not only is there somebody opposite Batman that could stand up to Batman, but she's owning herself from every angle, not only her femininity and sexuality, but her power and physicality and her kind of like batshit craziness. Like she's really obviously very emotional, extremes and everything. And I feel like when Max throws her out that window, it's like she cracked, and what came out of that shell was her fully formed self. And I think growing up in a world where I constantly had to witness my mother sort of being shy and timid and afraid to step into her own power, seeing somebody like that, and don't get me wrong, I had other female heroines. I had my Ripley, I had, Mary Poppins, I had a wide range. But going back to Catwoman, that was the first time I saw somebody like be sexy, but also just be powerful and not be like a slut. You know what I mean? Like it had nothing to do with it. Her sexuality was suddenly just a superpower versus something to be taken advantage of. So I think
she didn't want to sleep with either of them.
Yeah, I mean, she wanted Batman. But yeah, Max and the Penguin are disgusting. I know we have a topic later to talk about that, which I want to save that for later. But I want to also pick up on what you were saying about drag. And I think the thing with Michelle, her performance, is that she eats that up. Like she's the best thing in that entire movie.
Yes,
hands down.
Yes,
she eats up that performance, and then she has seconds. So I think that to me coincides with a drag performance where you expect somebody just to eat it up with zero irony, and this is how it is. Yeah, those are my 2 cents on that.
Yes, I totally agree.
She was the 90s answer to Jinx Monsoon. Sorry, I just love Jinx. She's my fave.
So given our first reaction, something I wanted to discuss was that although Batman Returns by, I want to say, around $10,000 more, succeeded the original, Batman 1989. This film is often in people's minds to be considered like this success. Like, we love this movie. It's great performances. Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, like everybody's awesome. The reality was when this came out, it was like Karen Palooza. moms and like families came out, boycotted the heck out of this movie. They went to heck on like McDonald's for having toys supporting this film. It was nuts. So I'm just going to read something from writer Shane Lealas from CBR.com. He writes, but the biggest complaint was not Penguin killing a woman or Catwoman's sexualized actions with Batman. While the Dove Foundation sent McDonald's letters accusing them of promoting violence for selling Batman Returns Happy Meals, the restaurant had another problem with the movie. At one point, some black goop began pouring out of Penguin's mouth in a visually disgusting moment. Burton told Yahoo in 2014, I think I upset McDonald's. They asked, what's the black stuff coming out of the Penguin's mouth? We can't sell Happy Meals with that. McDonald's distanced itself from the movie, but kept selling the Happy Meals and toys.
I could sort of understand where McDonald's is coming from, because rewatching this movie as an adult, I actually have a hard time with the penguin scenes. They gross me out more than they did when I was a kid. And maybe that's a credit to his performance and the makeup artists on the production team and all that, but
I have to agree with you. I mean, I was always grossed out by the penguin stuff. I mean, Danny DeVito definitely. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I definitely forgot that it was Danny DeVito.
He should get an Oscar for being that disgusting.
He just disappeared into that role.
It really is
awesome.
So. I mean, it's incredible how much he embodies it to the point where it makes you uncomfortable.
Like Charlize in Monster, it's like she just disappears behind like the lack of makeup.
Yeah.
I think there's a beauty to this film in that it allows the villain characters to be who they are. Like it doesn't try and force them into like what viewers want, because I see that a lot of days now. You like pick up a new TV show or like you watch a new proposed franchise and you're supposed to understand everything about these characters. They're supposed to be like perfect, so we like anticipate where they might go. A film like this, you watch it, you're like, I don't know who I'm rooting for. Is it Batman? Is it Catwoman? Is it Penguin? I have no idea.
I think that's, one of the beauties of this movie. That's something that I wrote down, is that the movie is so unapologetic. As you were saying, the reaction that the film got when it first came out, I think is probably a result of the film just taking complete ownership of what it was. The villains were, you didn't know who to root for. I think there's an element of theatricality. I think just Tim Burton's work in general, but I think especially in this movie, the performances are they're not caricatures, but they're archetypes almost, but there's still humanity and sincerity in the performance as well. The sets, the way it's lit, the makeup, it's all very theatrical. It's all very big. I could almost see this being a play or a musical, but the film really just takes ownership of all those elements, and I love that. With the reaction that it got at that time, I think it's probably just because it really just took ownership of what it was, and it was unapologetic.
You see a lot of modern superhero films, and they try to like make it like, oh yeah, but it's superheroes, but it's in reality and everything's in our world and blah blah blah. But what Tim Burton did is he made it comic book. He set the whole thing in the comic book world, and it allowed the characters to be that much more over the top, that much more comic booky. Now, they were grounded in some semblance of like humanity. You can find at different parts of the film feeling for each of the characters, but yet they still exist within this very noticeably cartoon world.
Yeah.
Well, which is kind of funny because this film was like the basis for the storylines were very divergent compared to the comic books. Like the origin of the Penguin and the origin of Catwoman, completely different. So they didn't stick to any of that. They just kind of went their like own route. which I think is why
Yeah.
like either people hate it or love it.
Yeah. I will say, rewatching this, like the intro for each one of these villains is some of the best villain introductions in this genre. Like the way they introduce the Penguin, everything you need to know about him before the movie even starts. It's just the opening credits. And it's just very clean storytelling. And then it's no exposition, no explaining this is why I'm the way I am because of this thing that happened to me that one time. It's all happening in a way that's delivered to you from a story perspective versus like narrated to you.
Yeah, like
especially with Selena
they're coming
Kyle.
up with like they're realizing it as you are in a way. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, show versus tell. They're showing you, as an audience, rather than just explain it to you.
Yeah, they don't like dumb it down for the audience. You're there to sort of, what you just said about the journey. Like we're on the journey with them. Especially Selena is like a great example of that. We're on that journey with her. We're not told, oh, this is Catwoman and this is her origin story. We're shown in a way that serves the story and isn't some just like a shoehorned, I don't know, you know what I mean, lazy kind of character work.
It's, I know it's like Batman Returns, but to me, this is very much a Catwoman movie. Like you could have called it Catwoman and Batman, or just, I don't know, just Catwoman. I mean, it's just, again, because my eye goes to Michelle Pfeiffer's performance when I watch this movie more than anything. But, as you said, everyone is so well developed and well introduced that your eye goes to each of them. But yeah, for me, it's definitely Catwoman that my eye goes to all the time. And
I mean, if anything, Batman's like a secondary character. Like he's just responding to what all these crazy people are doing. He's just trying to live his life. It's like, Jesus, these people.
So on that note, really quickly, before we go into replaying some of our favorite scenes, who's your favorite of the primary cast? The Bat, the Cat, or the Penguin?
All right, because I know everybody loves Selena, because how can you? I'm going to be wild, and I'm going to say Max Schreck, because he makes me laugh. He is just so, Christopher Walken, he's amazing. He does what he does. But he's still even though he's kind of the worst, he's this narcissist, power, megalomaniac son of a bitch. You still kind of feel bad for him because he was just like going with the flow. He's like, all right, here comes the penguin. Sorry, my dog. Here comes the penguin, all his bullshit. Let me see if I could capitalize off that shit. That didn't work. All right, let me do this. And he's just this businessman trying to do his thing. He definitely gets what's coming to him, but I think he provides a weird kind of everyday, like the straight man in this cast of like weirdos. So that's going to be my wild answer.
Christopher Walken does a very good job as a villain. He's creepy in a lot of things, not just because he may or may not have killed Hollywood legend Natalie Wood, but in his own right, he is creepy.
I thought it was the other guy who did it. Her husband.
They don't know. It was the back of his boat. They were drunk. It was a party. She doesn't come back from said party. Anyway.
I didn't know any of this.
No, the only two people that know is Christopher Walken and her ex-husband. But I think he's
now
dead.
Us. Look at what you've done.
I just spilled the tea. How is this spilling the tea? This has been, known since what, the 80s when this happened.
Didn't know this. It happened in the 80s.
I think so, right? It was the 80s. Anyway, R.I.P. Natalie.
Yeah, and she was like deathly afraid of water. That was like her thing.
My God! Oh no!
And they were on a yacht, and then she died. But I didn't know that it was theorized that it was Christopher. I always thought it was the other guy, Robert.
They couldn't prove it either way. Wagner.
He was definitely an accomplice.
Yeah, right. Number 2 from Austin Powers.
Oh,
anyway,
really? Oh, see, I'm sorry. I'm learning all this for the first time, listeners. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is all new to me.
This might be a long episode. Sorry, folks.
Wow, number 2.
Anyway, let's get back on track. What's your favorite character?
Sorry, guys. I just had to interject that little bit of trivia. If we were talking about Chris Walken, who like I said, I believe that he's creepy, and not just because he might have murdered a human. Anyway, may or may not. It hasn't been proven. We have no idea. So for me, and I thought it was going to be across the board, Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. So I'm glad that somebody else is getting a shout out. But I got to go with Michelle Pfeiffer. Come on. For so many reasons that we'll get into through the whole length of this episode.
There we go. I'm going to be contrary as well and say I think the Bat does it for me this time. I think him being a supporting character adds a lot more value to the storytelling that was involved in this film. You know, we all kind of knew with like at least DC stuff. I'm a big comic book nerd. I read comic books growing up. Like Batman, his villain like gallery is amazing. Like utilized that properly. Tim Burton did that. I think it worked. I also think Michael Keaton acted his like booty off with this role, and I think he and Michelle Pfeiffer had incredible chemistry. I
Oh
don't know
my
how that happened, but they did.
God, they were
Yeah,
sexy,
way more
weren't
than
they?
Kim Basinger.
Oh,
Even though I love that first one, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
in terms of chemistry, it's definitely him and Pfeiffer.
God, that was hot. They're just so hot together.
I miss 90s hot. I feel like 90s hot was a different genre of beauty that was a little bit more accessible. Let's bring that back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't want to look like a Kardashian?
Oh,
I do. Just
oh.
kidding. I love yogurt and pooping. Anyway.
I can't. I just. Sorry.
So
I feel so many things. I just
now
have,
that
well,
we've accidentally had Matt warm up, I guess we should put his acting skills to good test. So
Okay.
we're going to kick into one of our segments that a lot of you enjoy. It is us recreating our favorite scenes from Batman Returns. So we're going to go through scene 1. Okay, so I guess I'm going to be Bruce Wayne, Shalimar will be Alfred, and who's going to be Selina?
Matt,
I will be a Selena.
You better do her proud.
Oh, come on, don't put me in that position. I can't outdo Miss Pfeiffer.
Yes, you can. She's in us all.
She find your inner Pfeiffer. Find your inner Pfeiffer.
Find the fife.
Find the Pfeiffer. Put that on the t-shirt.
Action.
Here's what I want you to do. Tell Miss Kyle in there. Tell her I had to go out of town. A big business deal came up, or some no, you know what? Tell her, not in some dumb be my girlfriend kind of way.
I will relay the message.
Great.
Miss Kyle,
Alfred, hi.
Mr. Wayne told me to tell you.
Mr. Wayne. Oh, Bruce. Yes. Would you tell him for me that I'm going through a lot of changes, and no, just that's not a rejection. My abruptly leaving. In fact, he makes me feel the way I hope I really am. Now, could you just make up a sonnet or a dirty limerick?
One has just sprung to mind.
Thanks.
Cut.
oh my God, you guys, that was great. Laz again at the top as Bruce. You prepped for that one.
No,
Did you
I
prep
did
for that
not.
one? Okay, well that was good.
It's a
Nicely
lifetime
done.
of prepping. That's a
Bruce
lifetime
Wayne
of
is not
watching
my
this movie.
proxy.
It's the inner
Watching this movie
fight.
at least 4 times a year. Tell me no, Laz. At the very least.
I don't rewatch anything, I swear.
Lies.
I've only seen Batman Returns maybe twice already this year, and maybe Aliens twice as well. Oops. Okay, so scene 2. Now it's a Batman Catwoman scene. So I think I'm going to cast Mark as Catwoman, because you have your other scene coming up, and then
Okay.
I'll do Matt as Batman.
I'm the bat. Okay.
So This is when, they are fighting on the rooftop, right? Or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
action,
You're catnip to a girl like me, handsome, dazed, and to die for.
Mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it.
But a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it. You're the second man who's killed me this week, but I've got 7 lives left.
Tried to save you.
Seems like every woman you try to save ends up dead or deeply resentful. Maybe you should retire.
cut,
Beautiful
We're
work,
so
boy.
stupid. Oh, shit. Oh, we're so stupid. Love it.
Okay, so scene 3. This is the party scene. So I'm gonna give myself a turn to be Selena, and Matt, you're gonna be Bruce.
Okay.
action,
Sorry about yesterday. Some big deal came together. No, fell through. And
It's okay. I had to go home and feed my cat.
no hard feelings.
Actually, semi-hard, I'd say. There's a big, comfy California king over in bedding. What say we?
You mean take off our costumes?
Guess I'm sick of wearing masks.
I'm here. So why'd you come tonight?
You first.
See you.
That's lovely. And I really wish I could say the same, but it came from Max.
You mean you and Max.
No, this and Max. Now, don't give me a killing Max won't solve anything speech, because it will. Aren't you tired of this sanctimonious robber baron always coming out on top when he should be 6 feet under?
Jesus, Selena, you're not the judge or the jury. I mean, just who do you think you are?
I don't know anymore, Bruce. A kiss under the mistletoe. Mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it.
But a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it.
Does this mean we have to start fighting now?
cut,
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Good
that was
drama.
delicious.
I love that scene so much. That's a whole movie. That one scene between the two of them, that could have been a whole, like, that's the sequel right there. Is just
One of my favorite scenes on film.
And it's just, the genuine hurt and disappointment, I think, with Selena Kyle, where she's like, oh crap, this isn't gonna work. I just okay.
It definitely threw a wrench into the works, but I think it was like a chink in her armor where she ended up getting back a little bit more of her humanity, which prepared the setup for the final
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
It's just really good writing. Very brief,
Yeah.
but it says so much. Like there's so much subtext.
And to your point, it leaves it up, I think, to the audience to decide, like, what would I do, or like, how would I approach this? Because they never definitively say how, like, Catwoman feels about the things that end up happening. I think you see them, like you were saying, Shalimar, earlier, like almost in real time with these characters, that you're left with a sense of like, what were they doing it for? And like, did they succeed? Will they be happy? Will they not?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have one more scene, and I know that Mark has been dying to do this one.
Yes. This was almost on the cutting room floor, but I saved it.
Now, Mark, since we only have one line, do you want to do Max Shrek in this one?
Sure.
Oh, great. Yes. Hold on. Gotta find Selena again. Hold on. It'll take me a second to get a drink here.
That is how we find the inner Fife.
Yes. All right.
action,
You killed me. The Penguin killed me. Batman killed me. 3 lives down. You got enough there to finish me off.
One way to find out.
4, 5. Still alive.
Bang.
6, 7. All good girls go to heaven. 2 lives left. I think I'll save one for next Christmas. But in the meantime, how about a kiss? Santa Claus.
cut,
Excellent.
Well,
I drooled a little.
You really got into the performance. I liked
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
oh my gosh.
This is the best day ever. Thanks, Les.
You're very welcome. I'm so happy I could provide you with this. So on to our next topic, rewrites. If you could change something in this film, what would it be and how?
I'll hop on in. I think what I wanted to see more of in this movie was more of the penguin's relationship with the other penguins. I mean, they're kind of always in the backdrop, obviously, because, penguin, I get it. But I see a lot of the penguin in this movie speaking with the other villains, but I don't see the presence of the penguins in a way that I guess there's really a personal connection that he really has. I think it would be nice to see, since this movie I think is so much also about kind of mirroring these characters with each other. Like, all of these characters have their dual personalities going on. It would be nice to see, for example, I don't know, like a penguin version of Alfred that penguin has, like that as ridiculous as that sounds, but just someone.
But wasn't he using the penguins at one point as like little suicide bombers? So I think it's a complex relationship that they have.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
It is, and then at the end they kind of walk him into the water when he's dead. He's so gross, man. That bodysuit is something else. He's just so like wide and thin at the same time. It's
no offense to the viewers, but it's well known here that we have issues with birds in film. So
it's just the way they made the bodysuit. It kind of reminds me of Dune a little bit. Like it's not so much the size, but the texture and the black sweat. It's incredible art direction. I mean, it just if I'm gonna sort of jump in just because I'm talking, but if I were to change anything about the movie, I wouldn't necessarily say it's gonna make it a better movie. It might make it worse, but I would kind of maybe edit a little bit of the penguin out. I think they would get a little too much penguin. I would want to trade him for more Selena, and see more of her development and her shenanigans and what she's up to, because he's got this grand multi-tiered plan of taking over Gotham and killing all the firstborn. And she's like, I just want to kill Max because he threw me out the window and all you motherfuckers are getting in my way. I just want to see more of that. Selfishly.
I would be down for that. Also, are you saying that Penguin is a Harkonnen?
I don't know. What's a Harkonnen?
Oh. From Dune.
Oh yeah. Oh, a Harkonnen. You know
Harkonnen.
what? It just, you read these words and you pronounce them in any way. Yes, kind of. He kind of reminds me of the main gross guy who was played by Skarsgård in the second in the remake.
Yeah.
In the original '80s movie, it's even worse. Like, it has boils and pus.
It was nasty. It was nasty.
Bad. It's really
Sting
grotesque.
Sting was very sexy in that movie, I do have to say.
He had funny underwear, from what I remember.
It was a Speedo.
But I think the thing that stood out with me with that movie, not to get too sidetracked, was the pug that Patrick Stewart carried around for half of the movie and then just disappeared. I want to know where that pug is.
Oh, Shalimar,
Anyway.
we're gonna have you back when we cover Dune. I think we're gonna.
Oh
I think
my
we're gonna
God,
try to
Dune.
watch like a double feature and watch the first one from the '80s and then the new one at some point down the road.
Oh my God. I think you might need to change the cocktail to like acid. It's just
You don't like it?
no, I'm just saying that movie's a trip.
Oh my God.
The
It's
original.
only appropriate.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
only appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, on topic here. What would I change about this film? I think if you would have asked me before, we started podcasting, I would have been really hard for me to pick something because I do enjoy, and I am notorious for not liking superhero movies. Really, the genre I pretty much avoid, but I do have a soft spot for the first couple of Batman films. They're just amazing, and this one in particular is my favorite. But when you're talking about the Penguin and editing his part smaller, I was thinking, well, why did they need him? Why did they need two villains in this? Couldn't Catwoman have been enough? It wouldn't that movie have been a little more interesting? Just the Bat and the Cat, and then save the Penguin for like the third movies.
Because Max is a villain.
Yeah.
So it's just another example. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of interesting if you think about it because Two-Face shows up again in Batman Forever, but Two-Face was technically in the first Batman as Billy D. Williams.
That's right.
I don't know where that story went. I don't know. I don't know why Billy D wasn't asked to come back. I mean,
I wouldn't have wanted to see Billy D with half his face ripped off. Let's be honest.
No,
he's too cute.
He's too pretty. He's too pretty.
I think the only thing that I can say about this commentary that makes sense in my brain is when we're seeing Catwoman and Penguin independently as characters, they're like pseudo narrative proxies for Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Like an abandoned person, whether it be through their sex or standing in society, or whether it be standing in society and like being born rich and then thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what would Batman look like in very different circumstances is the way that I always think about it.
That's definitely a really adept angle to look at that story, because it is something I think he struggles with in one of the scenes when he's reading the newspaper and he's just sort of first diving into what the heck's going on with the Penguin. And I think you could see it on Michael Keaton's face, like it comes through even in his performance, that notion of like that could have been me.
And you see him like feel bad for him throughout the film until he can't anymore.
Yeah.
I think that he allows it more with Selina because I think she's like a little closer in terms of that cliff.
I think it's also kind of interesting to think about that maybe in this movie, I could be wrong, that both the Penguin and Catwoman come to some kind of resolution at some point about who they are as people, and Batman is still figuring it out. He hasn't quite got the hold of his duality yet. And I mean, in this Tim Burton, even in Batman Forever and in Batman and Robin as well, if we still think that's the same one.
It's so interesting you bring that up, because now this memory is popping into my head about Batman Forever, which I love that movie. I don't know why, no shame.
No, none at all.
I think it was the director. You just really love the director.
No, I don't know about the director. I think I appreciated what Val Kilmer did. It was different. It's no Michael Keaton, but it was its own thing, and it was okay. Yeah. Nicole Kidman is such a thirsty mama in that movie, and it's just so funny. But one of the themes in that movie is she's a therapist, she's a psychiatrist, and she's talking about bringing those two sides together.
Right.
She even gives him a dream catcher that's like half black, half white.
Right.
And that's kind of how the movie ends, because he tells her who he is and kind of brings her into his fold. And now that's like his two sides sort of becoming one.
Yeah.
But the movie that came after that, it's his own thing. I mean, it's a shit show, but that just made me think of that, which is such a great insight.
Yeah. Yeah.
That just reminds me of the time that I forced Shalimar to watch Halle Berry's Catwoman.
We do not talk about this.
Can you guys imagine though? How cool? What movie would we have had with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman? Can you imagine how good that would have been?
Oh, a standalone.
It depends, because think about
during that time,
the writers.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe if James Cameron did it, that guy knows how to write a female heroine. But I don't know. Like, look what they did to poor Halle Berry. Poor woman. Like with that script and that movie. I think Anne Hathaway did a pretty decent job. She did her own thing, but that's just a testament to a really good script. And even though that movie was absolutely overstuffed, Her performance always stands out to me, and I went in there very skeptical, thinking I was going to hate everything she did, and I ended up leaving like, oh, she's a bad bitch, I like her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool how everybody leaves their own stamp on it, but at the end of the day, it's the material you're given.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll say something that I would change. I would actually not change much of anything. I think similar to Shalimar, I would perhaps trim some stuff with the penguin, or I don't know, like have a bigger plan for this story, because I think it was really rich and really interesting. But ultimately, I just wanted more time with everybody, which is a good sign, I think.
Definitely.
So, next topic, watching this film as a child and then as an adult, how do you see this film differently?
I think for me, one of the things that stood out for me, because I haven't seen it in years. I don't watch it every year, so I hadn't seen it in a number of years. But I'm in my 40s now, so I'm looking at it through a different lens. And it was the first time I noticed that this kids movie wasn't made for kids. When I was a kid, you see the clowns attacking people and the cartoonish villains and whatnot, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna eat my popcorn and just enjoy this, Tim Burton movie. But as an adult, I was like, wow, like this isn't really at all for kids. It would be a lot to show a young person. This is not to detract from the film. Obviously, I love it. But when I was younger, I guess I didn't get how much maybe, I guess, subversive, adult themed, gross at some points, like you said, with Danny DeVito's Penguin. Yeah, there's a lot there that might not be suitable for younger audiences with Happy Meal toys. But as an adult, I ate it all up, and I want more, and I'll probably watch it again this year because it's fantastic.
I was just going to say, there's definitely something to what he's saying.
I think for me, I pay attention to, I'm going to keep talking about Selena Kyle, but I pay attention to Selena Kyle's story a lot. And just, I guess for that time, for 92, even though, there are still so many things that I guess could have been done better in terms of writing a female character, but I do appreciate that there is commentary at that time about this being a man run world and what Selena has to put up with, because I don't think any movies were really doing that at that time. I mean, I'm sure there were some, but it's just, I don't know.
I think for me personally, just jumping off of what you're saying, this film provided me like a film heroine that wasn't simple to figure out. Like it was all built on vengeance and anger, but those are feelings that are okay as well.
Yeah.
You can express certain things and certain sides of yourself while still maintaining your humanity. So like very early on, I was like, I don't know, like she just seems like a person who's like mad that she got thrown out a window. I would be too.
Yeah.
I think, as a child watching this movie, I don't know if it did affect me in that way, that I felt like it was too mature for me. But at the same time, my taste in movies as a little kid was a bit on the extreme side. Like I did like sci-fi movies and Terminator and Aliens and Jurassic Park and I mean those all came after some of those, but in general that's the kind of movies I watched. And I wonder if it's a testament to the writing that a lot of those adult themes maybe don't necessarily, maybe the visual stuff obviously, but the writing, some of these conversations are so layered and full of innuendo that maybe it doesn't necessarily translate to a younger mind. And then once you've grown up and you've lived a little bit of experience, you get that, that comment she makes about him being semi-hard on her while they're dancing. Like I never caught that as a kid, but actually I don't think I caught it until just today when I was watching, and I was like, wait, I don't remember her saying that. Girl.
Same here. I was like, oh, they're talking about erections.
I remember being in the theater and one of the lines that, like, because I was so annoyingly innocent, and I think I've said this on this podcast before, but during this film, when she says, "Life's a bitch, now so am I," like where she's like holding up Batman over
Yeah.
the bridge, and like she has the one up, and I turned to my mom and I was like, "Oh, I wouldn't said a bad word." She was like, "Yeah, but she's right."
Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, Laz's
I
mom.
love
So
that.
true.
Nice.
I'm also trying to like imagine a baby Lars just going, oh.
I was nervous. I was like, "Oh no, I shouldn't be hearing this word."
Oh.
And what's funny is that's one of like the lesser inflammatory statements in that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said inflammatory statements. That's the word that came to mind. So forgive me for
works.
that.
It's provocative.
2024. So, before we go into some of the outro topics, why do you guys think Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman still holds up in pop culture compared to a lot of other female heroines within genre work?
She just takes ownership of who she is. And I think that at that time, one of you had mentioned, she holds her own against Batman. I mean, she kicks his ass, actually. Like,
Yeah.
To see that on screen again in 1992 is, unfortunately, it's something that is ahead of its time. Should be the way that's always been. But it's just iconic to see. It's important for young women to see that. It's important for young men to see that.
Agreed.
The best moment is when they're fighting on that rooftop and he like knocks her down and she goes, "How dare you? I'm a woman." And she's
Yes.
just like, so just turning that whole trope on its head of like you can't hit a woman, but now we have this woman who's gonna beat your ass if you don't defend yourself. And I just love that.
Follow up
it.
to "I'm a woman and can't be taken for granted."
Yes.
Bitch, now so am I.
I loved it, and I loved the choice of performance that Michelle Pfeiffer made just to really punch that line up and hit that. Just so well done.
She just like
so well
leans
done.
into, "I'm a woman.
I'm a woman." So good.
I guess I'll echo sort of what I stated at the beginning of the film, and just saying that, I think I can only speak to my own experience, and just seeing somebody that I hadn't seen on screen a character arc like that before. I think before that film, where any character, female, male, whatever, where it was the picked on, pushed around character that had trauma happen to them, and then being able to use the trauma to build something stronger on that foundation, and not necessarily know where they were going, but still be allowed to be figuring it out. Because usually in this type of thing, it's like, oh, it would be a catalyst for change. They would go from this way to that way. It would be very cut and dry. But with Selena Kyle, there was this ambiguity. And, I've always kind of gravitated towards like anti-heroes. Like, if you watch Battlestar Galactica, Gaius Baltar is an anti-hero who, my first watch, I just hated him, right? But by the time you get to the end of the series and you learn about the character, learn about all that he went through, and you understand his humanity and that he is in literally every one of us, whether you like to think so or not, there's a part of him in everybody. We can all be Gaius Baltar. Once I understood that, rewatching it, I'm just like, oh man, poor Gaius. And he's become one of my favorite characters on that show. So it's Selena Kyle's a lot like that. She is an anti-hero. Now, she do everything to save the day and she's a hero? No, but in the end, she makes the right call and saves Batman and gets rid of Shrek and saves the day. And the movie wouldn't have ended positively had she not done that. So yeah.
I mean, is she even really a villain? Like, she's not really doing like the worst thing she does is she kind of vandalizes a mall. She's not really necessarily hurting anybody. She's not out to destroy anybody besides Max. who has it coming.
No, and she was mad that Penguin killed off the girl, the busty girl that from the
So
Christmas
in a
tree
way,
ceremony.
she's definitely an anti-hero. She's no, at least in this
Not a bad
iteration
person.
of her, she's not a villain, even though she is kind of put in that archetype for the movie to make sense.
I think
Yeah.
she's gone like apathetic to
Yeah.
like things around her. She's kind of like, no one cared about me. Why should I care now?
Yeah.
And I just as I get older, I am trying to be better and maintain my I'm trying to stay objective and continue to look at things at both sides. I will be honest and say that with my inner Fife, there is that part of me that when I look at Selena Kyle and I watch her and she wants to do in Max, I'm like, yeah, please go handle business, get it done. Like, I'm not supporting that at all. I want to make that very clear to my viewers. Please support life and value life.
But in the movies, you could support murder because it's a movie.
Thank you for that. Thank you for validating me. I feel better.
It's
Thank you.
fiction.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in the last scene when it's like the big standoff and Batman's like, "Oh, let's take him to the police." That never would have worked. He's a billionaire. Just pay everybody off and get off scot-free. She knew the only way to stop him from all his nefarious doings was to take him out.
He had to get got, and she got him.
She got him good. I think she just holds up. One of the reasons from a cinematic like filmmaking perspective is just her story is so cleanly told. You see her as this lowly secretary that's being mistreated. And then you see her come home and she's having this whole monologue with her cats and with herself and with her answering machine, where her date stands her up, where her mother's a pain in the ass, where she's being sold, fish oil to be more attractive to men. And she's just like, oh, fuck this shit. And then she realizes, oh, I got to go back to work. I messed something up. And in that moment, that scene right up until she leaves her apartment again, that right there told us everything we needed to know. And then when she comes back to the apartment, since it happens so fast, we get this really great contrast of the two different versions of her when she just starts smashing things and shoving all the toys down the garbage disposal and making her, her new skin. It's really just great, clean storytelling, and it's hard to forget something like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, on top of everything else, that she just resonates, through all these decades.
Yeah, that whole scene is a transformation. You're just watching a transformation happen before your eyes.
Maybe that's something to be said also, going back to why it resonates with the queer community, is this concept of transforming from this person that society wants you to be into who you actually are. So I think that could be maybe the linchpin there.
Yeah.
Now, when she smashes the hello there sign and it just says
Yeah.
hell here.
So good.
Oh my God, that's a cinematic masterpiece. That shot when it pans out of the window
I
and you
have
see
that
it
sign
standing
right
there.
next to me.
Oh, it's hot.
There you go.
That's a hot scene.
I love it.
But again, there is something to be said about, for that time period specifically, and how women were being written and like portrayed. This character is very unseen. Like I don't think I've seen a portrayal of a single, let's say, quote unquote supporting character, even though she's like pretty much the lead.
Yeah.
Like there's not another example I can think of outside of maybe a select few that are able to make that impact in a short runtime. Like leave people that satisfied without a clean cut story. Because like the story itself is simple, but the emotions are so complex. It's like anybody could like apply that to anything and like be like, I'm Catwoman today. That's it.
Yes.
So I'm kind of thinking we should skip standouts because I think we already know what that might be, unless anybody has something outside of Michelle Pfeiffer.
Quick shout out to Danny DeVito, who did kill it. And I wish that he didn't have to appear on screen with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman because she just stole it away from him. But Danny DeVito in his own right did great.
Yes,
he just should have had his own standalone movie.
I second that. And I want to give a shout out to Alfred for anytime he's on screen. I just feel so comforted and warm compared to any other Alfred that's ever been. He's just he's my Alfred.
It's like having a cup of tea on like your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, Alfred. I didn't know the backstory of Alfred in comic book world. I didn't realize that he was. I mean, Laz, you're going to be able to flesh out that answer more than I'm able to. But he actually did he serve in the military? Like, what was his backstory?
Matt, I wish I could tell you in a very clean-cut way. But comic books nowadays, like every 6 months, it's a new
Right,
number
it's a new
one. The storylines completely change. Alfred was something to me maybe like 10 years ago. I have no idea now. He could be president. Who knows?
I feel like they have Alfred now running around like doing superhero hijinks as well. He's like, he's
Yeah,
more
we've
like
got
a Jarvis type of character.
yeah, we've got well, I mean, I was thinking of the Jeremy Irons, the Zack Snyder Batmans that I guess was more accurate to one of the versions of Alfred from the comic books who was more of a fighter and who trained Batman a little bit, besides Ra's al Ghul, who also trained Batman.
All very confusing, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. I'm doing my best. Listeners, if you know some stuff, slide in these DMs. Give me some Alfred info.
You can find him on OnlyFans doing his laundry.
Yes. Making it nice and crisp.
Let's move on to some trivia about Batman Returns. Burgess Meredith, who played the Penguin on Batman 1966 and in Batman the movie, also in 1966, was asked to play the Penguin's father in the opening of the film, but illness prevented him from it.
Danny DeVito was advised by friend Jack Nicholson to be aware of his own financial success with Batman in 1989 to take the role of the Penguin.
Michelle Pfeiffer mastered the whip as Catwoman. No shit, she did.
Animal rights groups protested the production of Batman Returns.
Michelle Pfeiffer initially lost her part to Annette Bening.
Oh, that would have been awful.
Oh man.
Wait,
I love Annette Bening, but
Would have been
no.
very different.
Wait, Annette Bening. Who? Annette?
From American Beauty. She played the mom.
Oh, interesting. I could have. Okay, I can kind of maybe see some of the choices that would have been made with Annette Bening. Didn't oh, what is her name? She was in Dune, 80s Dune movie. Didn't she also get the part, audition for the part?
Sean Young.
Didn't Sean Young get the part or audition
Got
for
the part for Vicky Vale in 1989.
Ah.
She got into like a horse accident, had to pull out. They got Kim Basinger, but then she was obsessed with getting this part. Showed up at the studio dressed up as like Catwoman from like
right,
the 60s.
right, yeah.
Tried to do some crazy stuff, and they were like, "You're nuts. We're kicking you off the lot." No, like we're not
Oh
going.
my
with it.
God, that's such a crazy story. And then she ended up in
Yeah.
Ace Ventura: Pet Detective as Detective Finkel.
Uh-huh.
Fun fact.
She has a weird history.
I gotta go back and look at that now.
But I'm very glad she participated in a small role in Blade Runner 2049 because it wouldn't have been the same without her.
So, Cobblepot's most famous clown, for those of you out there who do watch Star Trek, one of our own, Doug Jones, plays one of the Penguin's clowns in this film.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Saru, he's been in a bunch of Guillermo del Toro films, such as The
He's
Shape
in
of
anything. He's in
Water,
everything.
Pan's Labyrinth, yeah.
Oh, and also since we're bringing up Star Trek people, I have to do a shout out to the actress that's in the montage at the beginning of Batman Returns. She plays Penguin's mom. I don't have her first name here. I just have it written down as Dee Salinger. She's Major Kira's friend in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Star Trek Deep Space Nine fans, I guess if you remember the episode where Major Kira's friends slowly get killed off one by one, she's one of the people that gets killed off. You'll recognize her when you see her. But yes, she was also in Star Trek and she was also in Batman Returns.
So despite Robin being axed from the final film, which is a good thing, there was enough people in this movie. Marlon Wayans was paid $100,000 for the role and still receives residuals from Batman Returns to this day. Now, I would have loved to seen him in the franchise, but again, there was way too many people in this movie. We did not need somebody else in the movie.
Agreed. Paul Reubens, aka Pee Wee Herman, plays the Penguin's father.
I just got a last-minute addition to trivia, and this comes from a listener of the pod, Jeremiah K. Brown, who found out we were recording right now. Captain Jeremiah, he has a show here on BQN. Anyway, he said that Susie Sue did a joint collaboration of a song for this film, and it's called Face to Face.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the song that they are dancing to, I guess, at the party. And that was a joint collaboration with Danny Elfman. And so I thought that was cool trivia to add. Thank you, Jeremiah.
So an incredible song. So
Yeah.
thanks to Jeremiah. Everybody go out onto your Spotify's or your YouTubes or whatever. Susie Sue or Susie and the Banshees and Face to Face. Great song. Okie doke. So final thoughts. So for this for this round, we're going to be giving out 1 out of 9 lives to this film.
I love that.
Oh man, I'm gonna give it 7.5 lives. I don't want to give away too many lives because I don't know what the next movie's going to be, and I got to figure out some kind of average. So that's where I'm at, 7.5 lives.
That's incredibly fair.
Man, heck with it. It's gonna get. This is getting predictable. I'll give out 8 out of 9 lives. Because it's great. Yeah, I just, if it was just Bat the Cat, it would have got a solid 9 out of 9. But yeah, sorry, Danny DeVito jumped down to an 8, and I love Danny DeVito. Sorry, Danny DeVito.
I'm gonna have to piggyback off of that and say I give it 8 out of 9 as well. Yeah, if it had been just the Bat and the Cat, it would have been 9. But yeah, 8 out of 9.
I also give it an 8 out of 9. I think it's a very ahead of its time film that gives a lot of great character work. If that's what you really enjoy, if you like to watch an actor's director at work, which Tim Burton is, you're going to love these performances, these narratives, and what these actors individually bring to the picture. And if you don't like that stuff, then skip this one and watch Batman 1966.
Is that like an Adam West one?
Yeah.
There's a lot of time between the Adam West Batman and the Michael Keaton Batman, right? There was no one in between.
There's like a good
It's like
20,
a solid 20 years.
20 minutes,
Yeah, right? Almost.
Yeah, because that was what.
But now we have a new Batman every 3 weeks.
Oh, we do.
Actually, every 2.6.
Listen, don't make fun of my rating system.
I'm just
There are
saying.
certain scenes, I think, like with the car chase and the Penguin doing his things that I felt like were just too much on this particular viewing that I had an hour and a half ago.
Listen, I agree with you.
That's how I feel.
I don't know how to drive. I would drive that duck. I feel like
we
that
shout
could be
out to the duck.
fun. Like that would be great.
We did get Michael Keaton back as Batman for a cute little minute in the Flash film.
First time since this film. Yep.
Yeah.
I like what he did with it. I think he was probably the highlight of that whole excuse for a movie.
It probably wasn't
There, I said
Ezra
it.
Miller.
The silence.
I actually enjoyed the film. I am okay with this.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin. Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. If you're lost in the Delta Quadrant, check out The Captain's Couch, a Star Trek Voyager podcast hosted by Jeremiah sitting on Janeway's Ready Room couch. Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out, hosted by Mark, Matt, and Laz. Beam Aboard the Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Amy, Joe, Rhea, and Kevin. History with the Szilagys, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissy and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissy and Thad. Test your Trek knowledge with Treksperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Union Federation, covering all things Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Star Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Spill the Tea with What's the Tea, Bev, a Trek current events and fan interview show hosted by Christos. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind, BQN's monthly roundtable discussion with hosts and listeners. It's Green, a cornucopia of topics hosted by Mark, and Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek, hosted by Amy. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
What are we going to be talking about next week?
Next week, we are going to be watching as I scroll for the synopsis because I'm taking time. I didn't know, and I'm bad at improv, so I can't think of a synopsis. We are going to be watching Hello, My Name is Doris. This film came out in 2015. It is an American coming-of-age romantic comedy drama film directed by Michael Showalter. It is a screenplay written by Laura Russo and Michael Showalter. It's about a woman in her 60s who tries to act on her attraction to a younger coworker. It stars Sally Field in the title role. A little extra tidbit. I think the movie, along with that synopsis, is also going along with the Catwoman storyline of her coming into her own and taking ownership of herself. There's a similar journey here that's taken as well in Hello, My Name is Doris in a very beautiful and different way. But that's
and it's Sally Field. We like her. We really like her. Had to throw that in there.
The whole time? The whole time?
The whole time. The whole time? Oh, that's my favorite.
Yes.
Well, we would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue the discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts at CinemaZPod and let us know if you'd like to recommend a film. Please follow the network on Twitter and Instagram at BQN Podcasts.
So, Shalimar, where can people find you when you're not decapitating stuffed animals in your sink?
Oh, well, you could find me on Instagram at Shalimar Lewis or on my website at shalimarlewis.com, where I do art and design stuff and occasionally share a meme or two. And Mark, where can people find you when you're not electrocuting every man you make out with?
Oh, the sparks fly with my kisses, I'm telling you. When I'm not doing that, and that's most of the time, boys, you can find me on the BQN Collective Facebook page. You can also find me on Twitter at MarkWhite207. I'm also on Blue Sky Social. I think this is my first time saying that on this pod, where you can find me at MW207. I also host another show on this network called All Good Things, where I discuss Star Trek. And Laz, where can people find you when you are not crafting a skin-tight bodysuit from a Halloween costume?
Like every night this week. Weird. You can find me at www.lasmarquez.com to see some of my artwork within the entertainment industry as well as advertising. You can also find me on pretty much all social media at LAZMARQUEZ. And Matt, where can people find you when you're not vomiting up old kids' meals from the 90s?
Oh gosh, when am I not vomiting up old kids' meals from the 90s? Oh gee. You can find me on Instagram at 1701 BLERD. It's my web series about a gay black nerd using Star Trek to cope with life. And you can also find me on Instagram at MLJENN. It's my personal Instagram. Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. And you can also follow the entire network's podcasts with our master feed by searching BQN.
At this time, we would like to thank our associate producer, Miss Amy Nelson, and a special thanks to Lars Marquez for our artwork each and every week. The opening and closing music for this podcast is titled Dancing Dead and was provided by Ketsa from the Free Music Archive, providing royalty-free music for content creators.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We will add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind Roundtable discussion on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages. So, with that, thank you all for listening.
We hope you'll tune in next time.
Hi, honey. I'm home. Oh, wait. I forgot I'm not married.
Yes!
I love piss. No.
Oh, Lord.
Look,
We love feet here.
I don't want to.
Don't we, Laz? We love feet.
Do not want to kink shame, but if that is what you like, then that is what you
fair.
like.
I'm
We're not here
shamey
to kink
either.
shame.
You're not here to
It's been 40 seconds into the podcast. We're not kink shaming.
Thanks, guys. This is only my best friend of like a bazillion years.
She's amazing. We love her.
Ease her into this whole podcasting thing. I swear it'll go.
I definitely have a tendency to say very strange, random things too. So I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not offended in any way.
You're right at home. Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Well, goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Hey, somebody open the door.